Oh boy, there's a ton of new vanilla fragrances that are constantly launching, and I feel like I can't keep up with the quantity of vanilla fragrances out there. Of course, earlier in the fall or in the autumn, we got ALTHAIR from the house of Parfums de Marly. I've already reviewed that, but the rest of the vanilla fragrances that I'm going to talk to you about, there's a total of 6 I haven't discussed much here on the channel, if any. If you are a vanilla fan, you're going to want to stick around with this video to find out what I think about these fragrances, because not all of these fragrances go in the gourmand direction, and they're very interesting vanilla fragrances. So find out what these fragrances are all about coming right up. Thanks so much for tuning in. It's Sebastian. Yes, we're talking about vanilla fragrances. Are you a fan of vanilla? Do you guys know that it's my second favorite note? Patchouli #1, vanilla #2. Really do love vanilla fragrances. I feel like when I wear vanilla fragrances, makes me a very, very relaxed person. Gives me that whole comforting vibe. Reminds me of desserts and sweets that I like to eat. And I enjoy wearing vanilla, just like I enjoy wearing patchouli. So we've got these 6 vanilla fragrances. I've spoken about ALTHAIR already. This is it right here. I did a full review of that fragrance. I enjoyed that one. But the rest of these are different. They're not necessarily gourmand. So we're going to start off with the first one, ALTHAIR by Parfums de Marly. If you haven't caught my review, please go catch it. This is absolutely really delicious. And even though it's targeted to the male, it's in the male bottles of Parfums de Marly, a woman can totally pull this one off. It's created by Hamid Merati-Kashani and Ilias Erminidis, both perfumers over at Firmenich. This fragrance features notes of bourbon vanilla, pralines, cinnamon, ambrox, musk, cardamom, bergamot, orange blossom, elemi resin, and gaiac wood. So there are some hints of other fragrances that remind me of ALTHAIR, and also the DNA of Parfums de Marly is here. It definitely does belong in the Parfums de Marly collection. Sure, it might come off a bit like Leighton and maybe a bit like Carlisle. Not identical, but kind of having a similar DNA. But this one definitely is highlighting the bourbon vanilla, and it's a super delicious creation, I think. And I think this is a fairly popular and successful fragrance for the house of Parfums de Marly. So vanilla is king here, as I said, but there's also spices. There's the pralines. The cinnamon is really prominent here. It's a pretty warm, spicy, but this is on the dry side. There's definitely a dryness about it, and there's a pretty prominent note of ambroxan in here, so creates this kind of very woody, dusty, amber, musky, and a bit aquatic kind of a touch with that ambroxan. There's more musk in here, and of course cardamom spice. I feel like cardamom is prominent in a lot of Parfums de Marly fragrances, but overall it's a super delicious fragrance, and I think Hamid Merati-Kashani and Ilias Erminidis did a great job to bring this very, very crowd-pleasing vanilla fragrance, not only for men, but also for women. Let me know if you've tried ALTHAIR from the house of Parfums de Marly. Let's go ahead and quickly smell it as well, just to come up with a few more, explanations on this, descriptors for this. It's definitely very spicy, and again, the dry is key here. It's a very dry fragrance in that sometimes you wear vanilla and there's a syrupy quality about it. This is dry and dusty, powdery for sure. On top of all these notes, it's pretty spicy. I feel like cinnamon and cardamom are playing beautifully together. Cinnamon is warm, spicy. There's warmth there. Cardamom is fresh, spicy, a bit soapy. But overall, this ALTHAIR, I think, should be very successful for Parfums de Marly. Definitely very, in line with what they released. And if you are a fan of Leighton and things like Leighton and Carlisle, you should definitely be a fan of ALTHAIR. But do let me know if you're a fan. Do let me know if you're not a fan. And let's move on to this next fragrance. Again, the rest of the 5 I have not spoken about on the channel, except for the videos that say, looking forward to new fragrances, sort of a thing. And we're going to the house of GUERLAIN here, to the Aqua Allegoria collection. It's BOSCA. Let's see, it's BOSCA Vanilla Forte, this one right here. I thought it was Bosco, but it's BOSCA, which I don't really know what that means. But this fragrance is created by Delphine Jelk. I was really excited about this one. I got it on a really great promotion, but unfortunately, as I'm wearing it, it starts disappointing me. and I'll tell you why it's disappointing me. But the notes are vanilla absolute, immortelle, driftwood, musk, eucalyptus, and bitter orange. And in this case, the driftwood is pretty strong, and it gives me a very sea kind of a feel. And when I'm wearing it, it reminds me of cologne, which I'm absolutely not a fan of. But when you first spray this fragrance, it's super amazing. The combination of overdose of vanilla with that bitter orange, really great. It's the dry down that really disappoints me. I start experiencing the marine touches of the driftwood note, and I'm assuming they've created an accord calling it driftwood. There's got to be some notes in there like cologne to give you that kind of fishy quality. But wow, when you first spray it, it's great. Disappointing dry down. As soon as I took the cap off, it's also pretty strong. This is one of the fortes, which means it's a stronger concentration fragrance. And even though the concentration is eau de parfum, there's definitely a stronger quality about it. But let's go ahead and quickly smell it, because it smells really great. I just hate the dry down. The dry down is disappointing. Because when I first wore it, I thought to myself, why am I getting something marine? I didn't think twice about it, and I didn't think twice about it the second time either. But later I thought, okay, it's got to be this fragrance I'm wearing. It's creating that kind of driftwood-like accord. But to me, it smells like orange vanilla sugar cookies. Really great. But that dry down ruins it for me. Absolutely ruins it, unfortunately. So if you're a vanilla lover, try this and see if that driftwood note ruins it for you as well. But for me, great start, disappointing dry down. It's BOSCA Vanilla Forte from the House of Guerlain. I really like that collection, especially now that they're doing the the Fortes, to make the fragrances a lot more concentrated and stronger. That does have great longevity, because I kept smelling myself over and over again throughout the day. And then, of course, at the end of the day or on its dry down, it became that kind of weird fishiness that really turned me off. But moving on to another vanilla fragrance. Remember, we've got 6 vanilla fragrances here in the main video, and I've got 4 in the bonus section after the outro. This is from the house of ELECTIMUSS London. It's Vanilla EDESIA, this one right here. How many of you have tried this one? It's this fragrance created by Cecile Zarokian, and it's, once again, not a gourmand vanilla fragrance. Totally different. Cecile Zarokian already has a vanilla fragrance for Nichane that's very popular. This is nothing like that. Totally different. For me, it's a vanilla fragrance that has a lot of stuff going on with it. It's an overdose of different notes, but it's a very spicy, smoky fragrance style here. For me, the cumin is pretty prominent. It doesn't appear right away, so you might be tricked with this one. Be careful, test it out, because when I spray it, it doesn't smell like that, and then the cumin takes over pretty much. So it becomes pretty intense, but there's definitely ambery qualities. Lots of woods here. But for me, the vanilla is king, along with cumin. The cumin is really prominent. Those of you that don't like it will not like this one. I love cumin, and it works really great in this. For me, also, I feel like the cumin dominates sometimes the vanilla. It makes it kind of a bit of a vanilla as the afterthought, and cumin is king. But that's just to my nose, because I feel like the cumin is really strong. And when it mixes with the frankincense in this, it amplifies even further, because there's definitely a spiciness and a smokiness with the cumin, and that I feel like that's why the vanilla gets toned down a bit. But again, the vanilla is pretty prominent, and you experience the vanilla at the beginning, cumin appears after, and then you're drying down with vanilla as well. And then the cumin's by that time pretty faded. But for me, I felt like the cumin is pretty prominent. Like it had great longevity. One other thing you'll notice in here is also almonds with heliotrope. Heliotrope is definitely a flower, very powdery. There's a very powdery presence here, and it does have an almondy touch about it. And then with the almonds note that's in here, it does amplify a bit of a almondy quality. But again, for me, what this fragrance is all about: vanilla, cumin, frankincense, cinnamon, coriander, and then we've got the almondy touches after that. And then of course woody, earthy, floral, citrusy all come in to play after that. So let's quickly smell Vanilla EDESIA. If you've gotten your nose on this one, do let me know. And also, I forgot to mention at the beginning of the video, I'm feeling a little under the weather. I've got a bit of a sore throat, so I'm a bit slow moving here. But here, One other thing also, there's definitely a Middle Eastern-esque vibe here, and the fragrance itself fits the fragrances of Electimus London. So if you like their style of fragrances, you're going to like this one, especially if you like vanilla and cumin. But yeah, when you spray this one, the cumin is not there, especially even on the strip. So this might trick you. You might smell it, you go, whoa, it smells great. It smells spicy. I'm not picking up cumin. But put it on your skin, test it out, because the cumin's going to be there. And it really kind of comes alive on skin more than on strip. But in the end, it's lots of vanilla. Frankincense is definitely prominent, and lots of spices. And behind, in the background, there's definitely that almondy touch with the heliotrope as well. It's really a great fragrance, totally different than Nishane's Ani. Very complex wear as well, and just like fragrances that Cecile Zarokian creates. She does pile on a lot of notes. If you've noticed some of her fragrances as of late, the notes are layers and layers of notes, and this definitely wears like a very complex layer of fragrance notes. Alright, up next, another vanilla fragrance. Remember, this is 6 vanilla fragrances video here. We've got one from BDK. It's Vanille Leather, this one right here. So I got to sample this one for the first time at Harrods in London on my way to Italy for Pitti Fragranza show that I was attending. And I think this was an exclusive fragrance for Harrods at that time. And I thought to myself, it's a great fragrance. It smells great. It's a great fragrance that Dominique Ropion has created. As of late, I haven't really been a fan of some of his creations, but this one was great. So finally, it's available for everyone to consume. The exclusivity is gone. And sure enough, it's really a great fragrance. And once again, it's vanilla, but this is not a gourmand vanilla. This, to me, does remind me of classic leather fragrances that's sweetened up with vanilla and violet. There's definitely a very prominent violet note here, and it does have that bit of a makeup effect running throughout it, especially with the fact that there's iris here, but it's really, really great done. The only negative with this one for me is it didn't have a big oomphy, beefy quality, but as a smell, it's a great smell. Really, really a wonderful smelling fragrance, totally reminiscent of leather fragrances of yesteryear, but the kind of the leather that's more suede-like leather kind of brings to mind fragrances like Royal English Leather from Creed, maybe something like Canise 10, things like that. Maybe even Dior's Quirconnage. I don't know if you guys remember that, because there's a violet note in here that's pretty prominent along with iris, and the leather accord as well, which is kind of reminding me of those kind of fragrances of past. But again, not a gourmand vanilla. But you know, there's a lot of gourmand vanillas out there, correct? There's not a lot of vanilla fragrances that are not necessarily gourmand leaning, even though they highlight a very prominent vanilla note. Do let me know if you're a fan of gourmand vanilla or a vanilla fragrance that's not necessarily gourmand, because that's exactly what this is, not a gourmand fragrance, even though it's got that overdose of vanilla here. Let's quickly smell it, because it does smell super fantastic, and as I said, I just wish it was a bit stronger, a bit more potent, but as a smell, it's really great. Really, really great. To me, it's very classic leaning, but modernized to modern noses. And I think that whole reminder of the leather fragrances, that suede, soft, vanillic, violet forward leather fragrances is here very prominently. I like that. I like classic fragrances, and this is definitely one of my favorites as of late, even though it's definitely not a gourmand vanilla fragrance. So let me know if you've gotten your nose on that one. That is BDK's Vanille Leather. So moving on to Matiere Premier's Vanilla Powder, this one right here. So first wearing of this fragrance, I thought it was quite strange. Very strange. In fact, it was waxy and almost experimental on me. It has a Palo Santo note, it has the vanilla of course, it has also a coconut note, and it has some musky notes as well. But again, a very unique vanilla fragrance, not a gourmand whatsoever, even though it has that coconutty touch. It's definitely not a gourmand. So I'm having a hard time coming up with an explanation for this fragrance because it's so different. But when I'm putting it on skin, when I'm smelling it, there's a like for it and inviting, because I'm curious to smell it and discover it more. But behind, in the back of my mind, I'm thinking, what the heck am I wearing here? Why is this fragrance so weird, kind of a thing? Does that make sense? Have you guys gotten your nose on vanilla powder? Do let me know. It's definitely powdery for sure. But it's a unique vanilla for sure. Once again, not gourmand whatsoever. But let's quickly smell it. I feel like also there's a bit of ambroxan in this, because it has a very molecular, dusty, ambery ambroxan kind of quality. Not smelling like Baccarat Rouge or anything like that, but when you strip away the ambroxan from fragrances and just leave the ambroxan, like Eccentric Molecules Molecule 2, there's that whole smell in there, in the fragrance for sure. It's once again very dry and dusty. So it's a dusty, dry vanilla. And that dryness is also kind of maybe tricking my nose that there is something like ambroxan in here. Something ambroxan-like is in here with some sweetness from the vanilla and the coconut. And then, of course, the musky notes in here as well. But, you know, I think I can get used to this one. But it's not necessarily like, oh my god, it's the best vanilla fragrance. It's if you have a collection of vanilla fragrances, you're looking for something different. Something powdery, dry, dusty. Again, woody as well, because there's not a big component of woody note in this one. At least I didn't see. But it does act woody, and I think ambroxan can come off a bit woody as well. But either way, vanilla powder, very unique smelling vanilla fragrance. I think maybe it's the most unique out of the entire Métier Premiere collection. I feel like they tried to do something outside of the box, out of the box kind of a thing, not conventional, and I think they accomplished it, but I'm just not sure how consumers will appreciate that fragrance. Will they like it? Kind of a thing. Do let me know if you like it. Then moving on to the last fragrance I'm going to talk to you about. It's DS and Durga's Deep Dark Vanilla, this one right here. Oh boy, this is quite strange once again. Once again, not a gourmand. It's vanilla, lots of it, loads of vanilla here, but also night and day difference between vanilla powder and deep dark vanilla. This is very medicinal, and also almost like it feels rough around the edges when I'm wearing it, probably because of the types of notes they have in here, but it doesn't feel like fully finished for me because it's rough around the edges. That whole medicinal touch with this one kind of rubs me the wrong way when I first spray it. Like, I don't know if I want to wear this fragrance. It's strange. I'm smelling vanilla, but it comes off like medicine and dark and greasy and oily. But then as it develops, the fragrance gets better. It really does get better. And once the fragrance is settled, everything is nicely blended together. Then you have something that smells really, really great. But with the deep dark vanilla, we have vanilla absolute, dark patchouli, hay, cypress root, vanilla leaves, vines, cabruva, pink pepper, and orchid. Have you tried this one? To me, one last thing I should say about this one before I smell it. There's something in here that reminds me of their fragrance Leatherize. I don't know what it is, but I'm getting hints of like a DNA from that fragrance. And that fragrance is Leatherize. It's kind of very like intense, in your face, authentic leather smelling. And perhaps that dark patchouli that's in here was probably in there as well. Something reminds me of it. It's not necessarily identical, but there's a bit of a DNA of that fragrance in here. So let's go ahead and smell this deep dark vanilla. If you've gotten your nose on this one, do let me know what you think about it. I don't think this is going to be a very big hit. Although, is this more vanilla or patchouli? Right now I'm smelling more patchouli for some reason, and I've worn it a couple times, and again, it smells better when it's all settled and, mixed on skin versus when you first spray it on strip or when you're just testing it. It's a bit off-putting and very medicinal and greasy. There's a greasy layer about it, and that dark patchouli is kind of on the greasy side. Very, very medicinal. But yeah, I mean, for me right now, this is the first time I'm noticing this after two or three trials. The patchouli is even stronger on strip for me this particular time than it was previous times. But either way, that's my thoughts on Deep Dark Vanilla. Once again, not a gourmand vanilla. But let me know your thoughts on these 6 vanilla fragrances. Have you got your nose on them? Do you enjoy them? Do let me know. Put a comment down below so I can find out. Either way, guys, thanks so much for watching today's video. If there is another vanilla fragrance that you've gotten your nose on and you really like it or hate it, do let me know what it is. Put a comment down below. But stick around for that bonus section of vanilla fragrances as well. But either way, please like this video. Please share it. Follow me on Instagram and Facebook, and I'll be back with more videos very soon. Have a good one. Goodbye. Okay, as promised, I've got a couple of bonus options that I wanted to talk to you about. One of them is a really great vanilla fragrance I discovered that I actually spoke about from a 10 ml bottle that I had of this fragrance from the brand Les Eaux Primordiales. It's called Vanille Supermassive. It's vanilla, labdanum, caramel, patchouli, elemi, ambroxan, cinnamon, white musks, bergamot, and fir balsam. For a very super delicious but still dry and dusty, lightly ambery vanilla fragrance that I think once it makes its debut here in the States, it's going to be supermassive. It's called Vanille Supermassive. It smells really intoxicating. I feel like it's got a really nice dosage of vanilla and labdanum for the ambery touches. Caramel and patchouli as well, and the ambroxan in it is pretty prominent, and I feel like this ambroxan note gives it that kind of dry, dusty, woody, earthy, and also ambery quality that ambroxan has. The other fragrance I got to sample, I've also spoken about it, but basically an anticipation video, is Guerlain's Vanille Planifolia Extrait 21. I got to sample the entire Extrait collection when I was in Dubai, and I enjoyed the 3 fragrances that I thought I was going to enjoy, but in a different, order. I initially thought that the Tonka was going to be my favorite. The vanilla was my least favorite, but turned out vanilla is my favorite of the 3 that I wanted to enjoy. Vanilla, Iris, then Tonka. The others were okay, not necessarily like fragrances I would run out to buy, but the vanilla was super, super delicious. It's featuring notes of amber, musk, spicy notes, and vanilla. So in the end, am I going to get these extracts or extraits? They're pretty pricey, but if I was to get them, I would get the 3 in order, the vanilla, iris, and then the Tonka in that extraits collection from Guerlain. And last but not least, 2 fragrances from Zara that I also did a video on that I wanted to highlight here. Starlight Vanilla. These 2 fragrances from the vanilla fragrances I reviewed recently are 2 of my favorites from this collection of vanilla fragrances. They are targeted to the ladies, but I feel like if a man really enjoys vanilla, they can wear these ones. This Starlight Vanilla is bright and aromatic and a bit powdery, but also ambery at the same time. So it's not necessarily very dry, but still kind of on the dry side. It's got lavender, almond milk, vanilla foam, amber, tonka beans. This one has really great projection. It's a louder fragrance and smells fantastic. And then last but not least, we've got Supreme Vanilla, this one right here. And this one was also really good. These 2 fragrances were 2 of my favorites. The other 2 were more of a letdown for me, but these did do a great job with the creation of these fragrances. This one on the other end is a bit more powdery and dry, but still there's this unique powder, like it's like a vanilla powder is basically what I'm smelling. There's definitely the ink accord that's prominent in here, which kind of, to me, reminds me a bit of patchouli, but it's loads of vanilla with pink sugar, tonka beans, and of course cedar wood, but super, super great. I don't know which I would wear. Probably the Supreme Vanilla. It's a bit closer. I would probably wear that when it's a bit warmer out because I feel like it's not projecting as much. But then the Starlight Vanilla, I would wear it in the wintertime because it does have a bit more projection. Anyway, thanks again for watching this video. If you have a new favorite vanilla, a brand spanking new one that I haven't spoken about that you like or you hate, do let me know what it is. Put a comment down below so I can find out. And stick around for another video tomorrow. Bye-bye.